So a lot of the movements that we do on this channel are sort of isolation movements. We try to focus on one muscle group, whether we're activating it, strengthening it, or working on stretching it out, smashing with a foam roller or whatever. Certainly no problem with that. It is nice to also have some tools in the toolbox that hit a lot of different things at once. If we think about how your body moves when you're out there doing stuff. We were out on the lake this week doing some water skiing, which requires upper body stability and rotation, lower body flexibility and strength. It's good to have some training movements and stretches that hit us in different body parts in different directions all at the same time. Bretzel is one of those movements that combines movements in both hips, the trunk, the thoracic spine, and the shoulder, and that's what we love it to warm up. So let's take a look. I need a pillow and a foam roller to do this, and that's it. I'm gonna lay on my back. The level 1 of this exercise, the pillow is important here. You might think, oh, no big deal, I'll just put my hand on the ground, but it is actually kind of easy to strain your neck if you're just doing this and you're moving every which way. So put a pillow under your head. All I want for the beginner, level 1 of this exercise, is just to lift up one hip, roll it across, and the foam roller is here just to block the movement. So just underneath my knee, and that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hold, so my left knee is here, my right hand is on top, just keeping it from moving, and then I want to bring my left shoulder, so the same knee that's coming across, that shoulder rotating away. I'm gonna take a couple deep breaths here, breathe in through my nose, breathe out through the mouth, and I'm lowering the left shoulder to the ground. So we're creating rotation through the upper and lower back, really the whole length of the spine, as well as some flexion in this hip, some extension in the opposite hip. And I'm reaching across in my left hand just to encourage getting that shoulder blade flat against the ground. That's where I'm going with level 1. Okay, so that's great. Level 1 is awesome. If that's where you're at, if that's a challenge for you, stay there for now. Work on both sides until you can pretty easily get your shoulder blade flat against the ground and have this hip flexed to 90 degrees, rotated all the way across. Level 2, I'm going to introduce a quad stretch by flexing the opposite knee. So now my right knee is fully flexed. I'm holding my right knee with my left hand, or my right foot with my left hand. I'm holding my left knee with my right hand. So I'm doing the exact same movement. I want to make sure also, and I didn't mention this earlier, I want to keep my abs tight. So I'm contracting my rectus abdominis, my main ab muscle here. That should feel stiff when you press on it. And that's going to keep me from extending through the lower back. I want to make sure I'm neutral in my lower back. So a lot going on here. I've got right hip extension, left hip flexion, left hip internal rotation, right hip external rotation. I've got left knee in mid-range, right knee in full flexion. And then using my breath, working on keeping my lower back and my abdominal stable while lowering my left shoulder to the ground. And this is just, if we think about this, this is really an amazing way to reduce a lot of the effects of sitting, which creates this thoracic flexion, hip flexion. By working on hip extension and thoracic rotation and extension at the same time, we're addressing a lot of those things that go wrong when we spend too much time in the chair. So just to show you what it looks like from the other side real quick, and I'm just gonna do position number 2 here. Rotating across, right knee is across on the foam roller, left knee fully flexed. And I just wanna start over here and then take a few breaths. I wanna make sure I'm maintaining that hip, that left hip here in full extension as I pull it into internal rotation as I'm rotating back. I'm throwing out a lot of directional terms. Don't really worry if it doesn't make sense to you. I know there are probably some physical therapists or other strength coaches watching that might like that kinesiological terminology, but if it doesn't make sense to you, don't worry. Just focus on one knee is across here, the other foot is in your hand, you're using your breath to try to rotate and get your shoulder on the ground. And you can see, for me, this is harder on the left side than it is on the right. My left hip is more stiff in the hip flexors. I have a harder time getting my left hip into extension. That's common for a lot of right-handed people who played swinging sports like golf and baseball and tennis that I did when I was a kid. So you can see it's a little tougher for me to get that right shoulder all the way to the ground. But I'm just gonna take a couple more deep breaths. Try to really open that up. And that's good. So there you have it, the Bretzel, a 3D warm-up stretch. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's a good thing to do. Try it out, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, let me know how it goes, and we'll see you next time.